Eddie really did not get along.
In real life?
In real life.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Like we didn't get. But every single week before taping, we'd come together. We put our hands together. We'd bow and we pray before we go out.
I mean, you talked about the whole Malcolm and Eddie thing. Like, what do you think was some of the most racist things that you've dealt with being in Hollywood?
Hollywood, man.
Just Hollywood in general?
Yes. All right, you see the money they'll put behind an unknown white talent just starting out. All right. When we all came out, this goes from Martin's show to me and Malcolm's show. Business clean. Michael Jackson, little white.
Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan gambled.
Right. And then his dad got killed.
You understand?
They tried to tie that.
He didn't overdose. He didn't spiral out of control. He didn't disappear into addiction, madness, or desperate fame-seeking chaos. No, what happened to Malcolm-Jamal Warner was different, slower, and far more deliberate. He was erased quietly, carefully, and intentionally. And now, after years of silence, Eddie Griffin is finally speaking out. He's breaking down on a small, dimly lit podcast, telling the story no one else dared to share. His voice shakes as he speaks. His hands tremble. His eyes glisten with tears. They lied to us, he says softly. They killed him without ever pulling a trigger. Eddie isn't talking about a literal murder. He's talking about something far more painful. Something you can't see, but can feel. A spiritual execution. According to Eddie, Malcolm wasn't destroyed by scandal or his own mistakes. He was destroyed from the inside by the very system that had once lifted him up. Producers, executives, industry power players. Eddie says they didn't want Malcolm's truth. They didn't want his independence, and they certainly didn't want his soul to shine. He remembers the late-night phone calls, Malcolm's voice filled with fear, his words heavy with despair. He remembers the silence that followed, and he remembers how the world barely noticed when Malcolm vanished. No funeral, no public farewell, no tributes on national television. Just gone, buried in silence, and the world moved on. But Eddie couldn't move on. Sitting in that podcast studio, his voice cracked as he whispered, "I should have protected him. I should have done something. This wasn't an accident," he said. This wasn't fate. This was a system built to break people who refused to play by its rules. And Malcolm was too pure, too honest, and too dangerous to be left alone. The truth, as Eddie tells it, is ugly, it's heartbreaking, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. For years, the public was told not to ask questions. We were told it was nothing unusual, just another child star who had outgrown the spotlight. Just another actor who drifted away quietly. But what if that wasn't what really happened? What if Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't fade away? What if he was erased? People wondered about him for years. Where did he go? Why did he disappear so quietly? There were no scandals, no headlines, no public downfall, just silence. No farewell interviews, no award show tributes, not even a whisper of closure. And now, after decades of silence, Eddie Griffin can't hold it in anymore. On that tiny podcast, with no major audience and no press coverage, Eddie broke down in real time. His voice shook, his eyes filled, his hands trembled, because what he was talking about wasn't just Hollywood, it was betrayal. They murdered his spirit, Eddie whispered, almost choking on the words. They killed him before they ever touched his body. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't natural. This was a plan, Eddie said. A system. A quiet, invisible execution. The kind that doesn't leave bruises, but still breaks a man from the inside out. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, and just another actor. He was America's son. We watched him grow up in front of our eyes, from the charming, quick-witted Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show to a smart, articulate artist who refused to be a puppet for the machine. But that refusal, that resistance, cost him everything. Behind the scenes, Eddie says, Malcolm was struggling. He was offered roles and scripts that went against everything he believed in. He didn't want to play dumb characters. He didn't want to be another stereotype, and that scared the people in power. Eddie said, the studios, the executives, the gatekeepers offered Malcolm deals with strings attached. Play along, they told him, and you'll have everything. Resist, and you'll have nothing. Malcolm chose integrity, and that choice led to silence, isolation, and blacklisting. Eddie remembers the late-night calls from Malcolm. He remembers the whispering, the fear, the paranoia. His voice was shaking. "Man," Eddie said, wiping tears from his face. "He told me they were watching him, recording him, following him. At the time it sounded crazy. Now it sounds like a warning we ignored." And then Malcolm vanished. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a tabloid scandal or a rehab meltdown. He just slipped away. No press release. No memorial. No industry tribute. Not even a funeral. Think about that. A man like Malcolm-Jamal Warner, an icon, a cultural figure, disappears from the spotlight, and not a single major outlet says a word. Not TMZ. Not Variety. Not anyone. Because, Eddie says, they didn't want to draw attention to what had happened. If the public started asking questions, the truth might surface. So they covered it with silence. Silence so loud it screamed. And now that scream is coming out of Eddie Griffin's soul. "I should have protected him," he sobbed, his voice cracking so badly the host had to pause the recording. "I should have done something. Anything." The podcast wasn't even supposed to be about Malcolm. It was supposed to be a light-hearted chat about Eddie's comedy tour. But when Malcolm's name came up, Eddie froze. And then he shattered. He started talking about how the industry manipulates its stars. How they build you up just to tear you down, especially if you stop playing their game. "They don't kill you with a gun," Eddie said. "They kill you with silence, with loneliness, with despair." Malcolm felt all of it, day by day, until eventually no one called. No offers, no interviews, no stage, just silence. And, Eddie claims, the silence didn't stop there. He says Malcolm's own family was pressured into keeping quiet. There were payouts, contracts, non-disclosure agreements. They didn't want any noise, Eddie said. Noise would mean attention, and attention could mean exposure. Eddie said he once tried to reach out to Malcolm's wife, or the woman he believed was still with Malcolm in his final days, and her response shocked him. "She told me, 'Let it go, Eddie. It's too big. You can't fight it. Too big.'" What was it? That's the question everyone is asking now. Eddie hinted at something darker, something invisible but real. He didn't name names, but he said, "The people who silenced Malcolm are still out there, still running things, and they'll come for you if you talk too much." And then he looked directly into the camera, his eyes red with grief and fear, and said, "But I'm done being afraid." Eddie wasn't just mourning a friend. He was confessing to a crime he didn't commit, but one he felt guilty for witnessing. "We all watched him drown," Eddie said, "and none of us threw a rope." Think about it. How does a man as famous, as loved, as iconic as Malcolm-Jamal Warner vanish and the world just moves on? No questions, no justice, no goodbye, just silence. And now, years later, that silence is cracking because Eddie Griffin is screaming the truth. "This wasn't an accident," he said. "This wasn't natural. This was engineered. A quiet execution by a system that fears men who think, speak, and live with truth." Malcolm didn't die from drugs. He didn't die from a scandal. He didn't die from madness. He died from being ignored, from being shut out, from being erased piece by piece until nothing was left. No spotlight, no platform, no peace. And now Eddie Griffin is carrying the weight of that truth, not just for Malcolm, but for every artist who's been pushed out, shut down, or buried in silence for daring to say no. The world saw Malcolm-Jamal Warner's smile, but behind that smile was a man slowly breaking. We saw him laugh on screen, but off screen he was slipping through the cracks and heard, unseen, and eventually unwanted. And now Eddie Griffin is exposing it all. He was alone, Eddie said quietly. That's what killed him. The silence, the isolation, the betrayal. Then Eddie revealed something no one was ready for. He said there were nights Malcolm would sleep on the floor, not because he was poor, but because he felt like the walls were watching him. He told me, "Eddie, they bugged my apartment. I feel them in the walls. I can't breathe at night." And what did the industry do? Laughed. They called him paranoid. They labeled him unstable. They said he was difficult, bitter, washed up. But now, looking back, Eddie says it wasn't paranoia. It was real. We let him die thinking he was crazy. Eddie said. Malcolm once confided to a friend, who later shared the details anonymously, that he believed his phone was tapped. He said producers referenced private conversations he had with his wife, things he had never said publicly. That's when he knew they were listening, watching, waiting. Waiting for what? For him to slip, for him to break, for him to give them a reason to bury him for good. But Malcolm never gave them that satisfaction. He didn't spiral. He didn't lose control. He didn't get violent, addicted, or reckless. He just went quiet, and they used that silence to erase him completely. Eddie described the last time he saw Malcolm in person. It wasn't at an event or on a set. It was in a small coffee shop tucked away in Los Angeles. Malcolm wore a hoodie and sunglasses. He kept glancing over his shoulder. He looked terrified. He didn't want to be seen, Eddie recalled. He kept saying, "They're still out there." They never stopped. Eddie said Malcolm's hands trembled as he sipped his coffee. He barely smiled. He looked like a ghost in his own skin, breathing, but not living. And maybe the most heartbreaking part of all, Malcolm knew he was disappearing. He saw the industry shutting doors. He felt the offers stop. He watched the eyes turn away. And yet, he never begged. He never sold out. He never betrayed who he was. Even as the silence swallowed him whole, he held onto his truth. During the podcast, Eddie said something that sent chills across the internet. Looking straight into the camera, he said, "Malcolm was too real for fake people. And in this business, that's a death sentence." There was one more twist so dark, so cruel it hardly seems real. Eddie claims Malcolm was working on a tell-all book, a manuscript, something raw, unfiltered, and direct, a shot at the system that had broken him, but before it could be published, it vanished, gone from his computer, gone from his backups. Even the physical pages were missing from his apartment. Eddie believes someone wiped it professionally. Malcolm told me, Eddie said, "If anything happens to me, they did it, and they'll make it look like I did it to myself." Let that sink in. He knew. He knew something was coming, and he knew the world would believe the version they were sold. The media stayed quiet. Still are. No headlines. No retrospectives. No what happened to Malcolm specials. Because asking questions means finding answers. And finding answers means shining a light into some of Hollywood's darkest corners. And no one wants that. So they stay silent, just like they did when he vanished. Just like they did when he was crying for help and no one listened. There are rumors, unconfirmed, but disturbing, that Malcolm once tried to file a legal complaint against a major network. He never named names, but in a private email, he wrote, "They want to break me because I wouldn't bend." And then, one day, people noticed his number didn't work. His social media went cold, and no one saw him again. Ed isn't here to sell you something. He's not promoting a new book or pushing a documentary. He's not trying to gain followers or boost his fame. He's grieving. He's opening his heart. He's breaking a silence that's lasted far too long. For years, nobody spoke. For years, nobody listened. And now, at last, his voice has broken through the quiet. And finally, people are starting to pay attention. Across social media, comment sections are filled with heartbreak. People are asking, why didn't we see this before? How did we let him slip through the cracks? How did we fail him? Malcolm deserved more. He deserved recognition. He deserved protection. He deserved truth. But instead of being celebrated, he was slowly erased, not from paper, but from memory, from spirit. What happened to him wasn't an accident. It was a quiet cancellation, a cold removal. And the worst part, his story ain't rare. That's the most chilling truth Eddie is trying to tell us. Malcolm's story is not unique. It's just the one Eddie can no longer keep inside. That means someone else, maybe someone we love, maybe someone we admire, could be going through this right now. Because in an industry built on illusions and false smiles, telling the truth isn't just risky, it's deadly for your career. It's not just losing your job, it's being buried alive while you're still breathing. Malcolm-Jamal Warner should have been celebrated for a lifetime of work. He should have been honored as one of the greats. Instead, he became a whisper, a cautionary tale passed around in hushed conversations, a ghost in a machine designed to erase the inconvenient. And now, Eddie Griffin is risking everything to speak his name, to demand that the world look at what it chose to ignore. Because this wasn't fate. This wasn't random tragedy. This was a system that knows how to crush a soul without ever laying a hand on it. And now that silence has cracked. Eddie has spoken, and once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. The truth is like a mirror, and sometimes when you finally look into it, it shatters. That mirror is now broken wide open, because Eddie isn't just exposing what happened to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, he's exposing all of us. He's exposing our silence, our complicity, our failure to ask the hard questions. Where did he go? Why wasn't anyone screaming when he left? In the final moments of that now viral podcast, Eddie's voice went quiet. He looked away from the camera, then he said something that sent shockwaves through the internet. There's something I never told anyone, not even his family. The host froze. The room went cold. Eddie reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a single folded page. Handwritten, faded, and torn at the edges. It was a letter from Malcolm. It was dated just 2 months before he vanished. This wasn't a goodbye. It wasn't a suicide note. It was something worse. It was a warning, a chilling message from a man who knew he was being erased. The letter read, "If they find this, then they failed. If you're reading this, you're the only one left who didn't betray me. They don't need to kill me. They just need you to forget me. Don't let them." Eddie stopped reading. He couldn't go on. He held the page to his chest and broke down in front of everyone, and the internet broke down with him. Clips of that moment spread like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags like #Justice for Malcolm were trending. Fan pages started resurfacing. Old Cosby Show clips, interviews, photos, everything began to reappear. People were waking up, crying, questioning. Because now, it wasn't a mystery anymore. It was a tragedy with a face, a tragedy with a voice, a tragedy with one final, devastating plea. Don't let them forget me. And yet, the industry is still silent. No official statements, no tributes from his former castmates, not even a whisper from the networks he helped make millions for. Nothing. They are betting on silence again, just like they did before. But this time, the silence is screaming. Fans have started digging. Old emails, deleted blog posts, archived interviews. One clip from 2013 has gone viral again. Malcolm is on a red carpet, being interviewed. The reporter asks, "What's next for you?" Malcolm pauses. He looks straight into the camera. His smile fades. His voice lowers. "Whatever I do next," he says, "it'll be on my own terms or not at all." Now, we finally understand what he meant. He knew, he saw it coming, and he accepted it not because he was weak, but because he refused to become something he wasn't. This wasn't just a man disappearing. This was a man choosing dignity over survival, truth over comfort, legacy over fame, and the cost. Everything, his name, his peace, his future wiped away as if he never existed. Eddie returned to the microphone in the final minutes of the podcast. His face was pale, tears streaked down his cheeks, and he said something no one will forget. If they can do that to Malcolm, imagine what they've already done to the others. He didn't name names. He didn't have to. Faces began flashing in people's minds, talents who vanished, legends who went quiet, icons who were silenced before they could speak too much. This is bigger than Malcolm, but Malcolm was the start, the one we ignored, the one we failed. Now we have to live with that. We have to live knowing we scrolled past his last post. We didn't notice when the lights went out on his career. We never asked where he went because they trained us to forget, to accept disappearance as normal, to trade memory for entertainment. But not this time. Not anymore. Eddie ended the podcast with one last plea. Don't just remember Malcolm. Fight for him. Ask questions. Say his name. Because this isn't only about mourning. It's about accountability. It's about truth. It's about exposing the rot in an industry that chews up real people and spits them out like they never existed. Now you know. You've heard the letter. You've seen the breakdown. You've felt the pain. So don't walk away. Don't close the tab. Don't move on. Because silence is what killed him, and your voice might be what keeps his memory alive. Malcolm didn't die from an overdose. He didn't die from scandal. He didn't die by accident. He was erased intentionally, methodically, and brutally by a system designed to destroy those who tell the truth. And now, the truth is louder than it's ever been. Don't let them bury it again. Let this video be the funeral they never gave him. Let these views be the crowd that never gathered. Let this moment be the tribute he never received, because Malcolm-Jamal Warner gave us everything, and they took it all away. Now, it's time we take it back. If you've watched this and felt a lump in your throat, if your chest feels heavy, if you're sitting there asking yourself, how did we let this happen? Don't scroll away. This isn't just a story. This is a scream, a confession, a funeral that never happened. They never gave Malcolm-Jamal Warner a goodbye. No tribute, no justice, no peace. But right now, you can give him something they tried to erase forever: a voice. Share this video. Say his name. Flood every corner of the internet with the truth they buried. Because silence is what killed him, and your voice might be what finally sets him free. Let them know we haven't forgotten. Let them know we see what they did. Let them know his legacy won't die in the shadows. They erased him once. Now we bring him back with fire. This isn't just about Malcolm. It's about every soul they silenced, every artist they blackballed, every truth teller they broke. Don't let this end here. Subscribe not for content, but for conscience. Like not for numbers, but for memory. Comment not for clout, but for closure. Because sometimes one click is louder than a scream. And tonight, let the whole world hear it. Say his name. Say it loud. Say it like they tried to make you forget. Malcolm-Jamal Warner. He mattered. And now, through us, he rises again.